This is Hatha Yoga this morning. My name is Jackie. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful sunny weekend. Firstly, I'd like to wish you happy Easter. I know it probably, if you're like me, it feels like every day's the same and it's hard to remember what day it is. But happy Easter with your family, and I hope that you're staying safe and enjoying the weather. I'll give you time just to lay out your mat. That's the only thing that you need, unless you do want to use something warm like a blanket or a pillow or a cushion for the final relaxation. Once you've sorted out your space, coming to seated position, we'll start in a seated pose. As I say always in my classes, if cross-legged doesn't work for you, then feel free to just have the legs stretched out in front of you like so. You just want to focus on the length through the spine. Obviously I can't see you, so if you're working with any injuries or pregnancy, then I will give plenty of options, but do listen to your body and practice safely. And if something doesn't feel right this morning, then obviously please don't do it. Just come out, have a rest, and then join us, join back in. So we're going to start here this morning, just lengthening the spine. Maybe you give the shoulders a few circles, a few rolls, and then just closing the eyes if that's comfortable for you. Just starting to feel into the physical body, starting to feel the length from the sacrum, from the base of the spine, all the way up to the crown of the head. It's almost like there's a string, a puppet string, just drawing you that inch or so taller. So thinking about our postural alignment here. Then we're going to start to observe the breath this morning. So as always, I'm going to open with an intention for our practice, known as the Sankalpa in Sanskrit terms, and like a thought for the day to work through our physical practice. So yoga is a tool for peace with regards to the internal environment, and they're talking about the mind there, bringing the mind to a place of calm, a place of still when the external environment changes. And with regards to that, you know, we have very little control over our external environment and what's going on at the moment. So we're going to start this morning with a breathing, a pranayama, known as alternate nostril breathing or Anuloma Viloma. So it doesn't matter whether you're left or right-handed or which hand you want to use. You basically want to fold in the first two fingers and use the ring finger and the thumb to close off alternate nostrils. Okay, so we'll do this together. So if at any point you feel it's too much, or you feel that you're struggling with sinusitis or hay fever, then just let go and come back to the natural breath. Just sit with both nostrils, breathe fluidly. So we're going to breathe in through both nostrils. We're going to breathe out through both. And then we're going to close off the right nostril and breathe in through the left for 3, for 2, for 1. We're going to close off left and breathe out right for 3, for 2, for 1. Breathing in right for 3, for 2, for 1. Breathe out left. 3, 2, 1. Breathe in left. Breathe out right. Breathing in right. Breathing out left. Breathing in left. Breathing out right. Breathing in right. Breathing out left. Breathing in. Breathing out right. Breathing in. Breathing out left. Breathing in left. Breathing out right. Breathing in right. Breathing out left. We'll just do one full round, one final round. So breathing in left. Breathing out right. Breathing in right. Final exhale through the left. 3 and 2 and 1. Just release the hand. Just keep the eyes soft or closed. Just take a few breaths now through both nostrils. Just notice and observe how you feel after that exercise. So that pranayama, that breath work, is really good for dispelling fear and anxiety. So feel free to use that, especially if, for example, you're struggling to sleep. You can do it in bed as well. So we're going to start now with some physical movements. So let's start with the shoulders. So we're just going to roll through, as we did at the very start when we came to find a seat. So you can go any direction, because we'll go both ways. You could just focus on one arm if you wanted, or you could focus on both of them together. So inhale, full use of the breath, and exhale as you release tension, and then go in the other direction. All right, and then we're going to open the arms out wide, and we're going to bring one arm across the top, doesn't matter which. We're coming into eagle arms, preparing so. So maybe just loosen and release the tension through the back of the shoulders, and then bringing the arms in front of you, maybe the backs of the hands come together. If you're a little bit more flexible, through the wrists, and you can bring the palms together. If you want something soft, drop the elbows down towards the belly. Otherwise, lift up just ever so slightly and just focus in on this stretch across the back. Try and breathe out that tension. One more breath here. Lovely, and then we're going to swap sides. So note which arm's on top. We're going to open up across the chest and then switch. So just massaging the upper back, upper shoulders before you bring yourself into an eagle arm. So it doesn't have to be really super tight and advanced. It can just be really gentle and soft. You could stay here, whatever works for you. So we're aiming to soften the shoulders down, create that space. Alright, and then gently release there. You're going to interlace your fingers and turn the palms up and then stretch up here. And you can keep them here, or maybe draw them back by the ears if you want a little deeper stretch. Breathe in. As you exhale, just come across to one side. Come back up. Opposite thumb interlaces. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, go to the other side. Alright, and then we're going to start to work through the hips. So take hold of one leg, doesn't matter which. One hand on the foot, one hand on the knee, and start to mobilize and move around. You can go side to side, or you can sort of paint little circles. So we're getting into tension and mobility in the hip and ball and socket of the hip. So flex the foot, draw the toes back to the shin. And sit up nice and tall through this stretch. And then we're going to pop that foot. Now you have three choices of ability. If your hips are really tight, then put the foot just in front of the other leg. You can try it on the calf, see how this knee receives that and copes with that. Or you can pop it onto the thigh, which is like a half lotus, which is a little stronger and a little bit more advanced. So you choose, it doesn't matter where you are. If you've got a blanket or a pillow at home, you could put some support in between this knee and this ankle. So we're going to root down through both glutes and first of all open up through the back. So take the hands behind you, fingers or palms down, start to lift and open. Maybe you take the head back, take a few rounds of breath. And then we're going to creep forwards and we're going to come over to one side, doesn't matter which side you come. So bend over the shins, keep the toes and the feet flexed, keep the knees supported. And then walk the hands to center, so you're coming through center. How does that feel through the hip? Take another breath. And then over to the other side. Great, and then we're going to come up and release. So we're going to give our legs a little shake out perhaps, or a little windscreen wipe from side to side before we change over. So taking hold of the other leg, doesn't matter if you want to keep it really low. If you're working with a knee injury on one side, then you don't want to like lift the leg really high and make really large movements. Some of you didn't show it on the other side, but could bind this pose like a rocking baby, as they call it. But again, the foot doesn't want to be seen, so you don't want to sickle that foot. So you can be here in the pose, or you can just be here, just moving around into that outer side of the hip. We're looking for mobility here. So if, like me, you've been doing some of the other online workouts, in fact I think I've done nearly all of them. So I've done Paul's workout, I've done all of Craig's. Thursday's Ali and Craig's workout was pretty crazy, and I'm really feeling it. I did it yesterday morning, so I really need my yoga this morning. So I encourage you to do them, but I also encourage you to come to the yoga as well. So that balance that I was talking about. So we take that foot and you choose your choice on this side, the floor, the calf, or maybe the thigh, and then just wriggle around, just find that support for the knee perhaps, and keep the feet actively flexed. Let's take the back bend first. So open up, breathe in. You can keep the head, if the neck's quite tight and get issues with your neck, then just open the throat, but don't drop the head back. So just gaze up instead. So breathe in, breathe out, soften, find that acceptance. Breathe in, breathe out. Lovely. So we're going to come forward. So it doesn't matter which corner you go to, because we're going to paint that rainbow. So maybe this side feels slightly tighter or slightly spacious. For me, this is definitely tighter. So we breathe into those pockets of discomfort. And then we start to walk our hands around to the center. You don't have to be really deep with this. So just come to where you can feel the stretch, okay? You don't need to be sort of forearms on the floor unless you want to. And then trickle over to the opposite diagonal. So you're sort of bringing your midline of your chest in the direction of the knee and the sole of the foot. Take one more breath. And exhale and release. Beautiful. So take your legs now, unravel them, maybe bring them to a bent position, and just like a pair of windscreen wipers, just release from side to side, just a couple of times. And then we're going to come over onto our mat. So coming into an all fours position. So if you want to roll your mat, take extra cushioning for your knees, or pop a thin blanket. If you've got props at home that you won't necessarily have when you're practicing with me on a Saturday morning, so feel free. So we're going to prepare to come to our downward dog. So firstly, just bring the hands shoulder width apart with the wrists underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips, and just tuck the toes under from here. Just start to engage through the core, so draw the navel into the spine. You're going to keep the knees quite bent as you just hover the knees off the mat. So just lift them and breathe. So breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. One more breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Then you're going to start to send the butt back, and then you can start to lengthen out through the legs, but it doesn't have to be a quick movement, and you don't want to really lock through the legs like I'm doing there. You want to keep a little bit of softness, and perhaps you take your dog for a little walk. So release tension through the backs of the hamstrings, so by bending one knee and drawing the opposite heel down in the direction of your mat or the floor. And then any movements, you can sort of roll through the head, release the neck off, you can open the mouth and release the jaw, stick the tongue out, sigh the breath out. I like that one. So anything that finds a release of tension through the body. So I'll just show you your resting pose, and maybe we've got a few beginners joining us, I don't know obviously. So if you need to, you come down to rest here. So knees come down to mat, buttocks to heels, and just rest the body over the thighs. You can support your forehead, fold your forearms in. This is known as our child's pose or our balasana. So this is where you can come at any point that you want, really. Okay, so we're going to come to dog. Those of you might well still be there while I demo that pose. So from here we're going to roll into a plank. Now your option is to drop the knees down, still bracing through the abdominals though, or you're in a full plank. Breathe in. As you breathe out, send the hips up. Let's try that again. So breathe in, float. Breathe out, lift. So the slower we do this, the more strength we build. So we're going to do one more before we start to add on with the sequence. So breathe in, breathe out. Just lifting the tailbone, the hands and the feet don't move. So we're going to float one leg up now, so coming into three-legged dog. If you were a beginner, you could leave this little bit out. So float one leg up, doesn't matter which you choose, really don't mind. And then you're going to draw that leg through to the front and lightly step it through. Now if you need to, take hold behind the ankle and bring that leg through. Now I like to take extra cushioning for my back knee, you know about my granny knees. So we're going to come into a low lunge. So you want the front ankle over the knee and you want the back knee maybe supported, but quite far back, so you've got to stretch into the hip. And you're going to come up to start with. And then you're going to sink a little bit down, but remember, we're pushing through the back shin as well. So rather than sinking forwards, if I over-exaggerate it, this is kind of like what most people tell us to do in classes to stretch our hips. What I want you to do is come back out of the stretch, which is safer for the lower back, and now push down into the back shin. So we're going to inhale and maybe take the arms up into a back bend. Breathe in here. And then we're going to take that arm. Now, if you were pregnant, you would do an open twist, okay? Same arm to same thigh and open up. The rest of us, we're going to take opposite arm to front thigh. Obviously, I haven't instructed lefts and rights, so you decide at home. And just turn your body into that twist. You can wrap the arms behind the sacrum, or you can float the back arm back. And then keep that strength through the legs. So the front knee is hugging in, line with the front toes, so the second and third toe, not inching out. So you've got that strength there, but your back shin is pushing into the floor. It's quite a strong twist. And we're going to come back through center. We're going to inhale, rise. And we're going to exhale. And we're going to come out of that front leg, sending the weight into the butt and coming into a little hamstring stretch. Now you can come up and do this with your hands on your hips. And you can bend that knee a little bit if you need to. You could use 2 bricks if you've got yoga bricks at home. Drawing the toes back will change the sensation through the hamstring, or you can play with having the foot rooted. So you can have a little go at either of those. Remember to roll the shoulders back. I don't want to see any of this, not that I can physically see you, but I know. So inhale, exhale. We're not looking to really lock, but we're looking to get a nice stretch through the hamstring. Take a couple more breaths, and then we're going to stretch out the psoas. So I'm really focusing on the hips today. So if you've been doing lots of work at a desk remotely, then these stretches are going to be really good today for your body. So come back into that low lunge, and this time, same forearm to same front thigh. Inhale up as if you were doing a backstroke, and take that hand to the back thigh. Start there, that might be enough. Maybe the back shin. Maybe, if you're super flexible, which I definitely can't get there today, to the back heel. Too much boot camp for me. So this front arm can rest on that front thigh, or if you want to take it into a stronger back bend, float that arm up. So you're working on sinking a little bit into the hips, and then the upper body is stretching back. This is going to really stretch down into the hip, into the psoas muscle. Breathe in. One more breath. Breathe it out. Lovely. We're going to frame that front foot, and we're going to tuck the back toes under. And then from there, we're going to float back into our plank. So for those who want to, rest now and take your child's pose. Otherwise, we'll take a slow vinyasa flow together. So from our dog, we float into plank. Pregnant, knees down, you take a cat-cow stretch. That's your option. Otherwise, from our plank, knees, chest and chin lower, hips stay high. I'm not on the mat yet, I'm still working my core. It's almost like a little tricep push-up. And then lie down, feet roughly hip width apart, fronts of feet contact with the floor, fingertips outside of the mat, my favourite one, for the last week or so. Elbows point up, forehead to the mat. We breathe in, we prepare, we squeeze the glutes, push the feet down, and we rise. So it doesn't need to be super high, you choose. You don't want to feel it in the back. You're strengthening the muscles in the back by activating the glutes and the core. So gently lower down. If you prefer, the hands can be underneath the shoulders in a cobra. So we'll take another couple. So this is your option if you prefer. Inhale, rise. Exhale, lower. Those who wanted something more restorative, just come to a forearm sphinx this morning. Okay, so we're going to take one more. I'm going to show this option. So we're going to rise, inhale, come up, soften as you exhale. And as you exhale, everyone's going to bring the forehead back down to the mat. We're going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes. We're preparing to come back through plank or all fours to dog. So your option is to use your knees and then lifting that tailbone back up. So beginners, stay with all four paws planted. The rest of you, float your opposite leg up into three-legged dog and then prepare to lightly step that through. Now if you only get halfway up the mat, that's fine, that's really common when you're first starting out. Take hold behind the ankle and step the foot, help the foot through. So I'm going to take that extra padding for my knee, and you're going to stack the knee of the front foot over the ankle, and you're going to lift yourself up. Remember, we're going to focus on the strength through this back shin. So the toes are untucked. Inhale, rise. Now notice I've sunk forwards, and that's going to bring it into the lower back. I'm going to come back up. It's a subtle difference. But because I'm being filmed, you can slow this, rewind it and keep watching, probably more so than you could if you were at the back of my class and you might not know what I'm doing. So push down through that shin and really breathe as you maybe bring the arms into heart space or take them up. Oh, I can really feel that through the hips. So really push down. Take another couple of breaths. And then we're going to take that twist. So remember, open twist. Rest of us, inhale, opposite arm, floats to the thigh, and then either just wrap and start to turn your chest, or you can float that arm back and follow with the gaze. So there's strength from this forearm against this thigh, and the knees tracking forwards. That's where you'll get a really deep stretch. One more breath. Come back through center. We're going to prepare for the hamstring stretch. So we're sending the hips back. What we're not doing, which I sometimes see people do, is sitting all the way down and back. Okay, you want to keep the hip over the knee. So we're going to lengthen out through that front leg. Maybe there's a knee bend, that's fine. Little micro knee bend's not a problem. Maybe you come up slightly higher. Maybe you come all the way up. Okay? And you choose the shape of the front foot. So you can draw the toes back and flex the foot actively, or you can root the sole of the foot down, but commit to doing one of them. Don't sort of let the foot go all floppy. You want to activate the muscles and then draw the shoulder blades back. Try and bring the strength into the core. You're only lightly supported by the floor here. Great, and then we're going to come back into that low lunge, and we're coming into that psoas stretch. So as you come up, this front forearm can rest onto the thigh. We inhale and windmill that other arm into a back straight, back of thigh, back of calf to heel. But we're coming back out of the hips slightly to start with, and then that front arm, if you wish, can come over the top. And compare maybe the two sides. They might feel very different. Keep the strength through that back shin. Maybe the gaze is up to the top fingertips, maybe it's forwards. Maybe you come back out of the hip and focus more on the psoas sensation. One more breath. Exhale, release. Oh, I felt that if you didn't. So we're going to frame the front foot, and then we're going to lightly step back. So we're in our down dog. Remember, you're very welcome at any point to sit down in child's pose and have a rest and contact with your breath as well. Find that stillness, that peace that the intention spoke about. The rest of us are going to take a flow, if you wish. So we're going to inhale to plank. Knees can come down here, or you can lower in one. Lying on the mat or taking your all fours option. We're going to inhale, rise, exhale, lower. So cat-cow if you're on all fours. Twice more. The rest of us. So inhale, float up. Exhale, release. This is our cobra option. Remember, you can take the fingers wide. You can be on the forearms. Inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. You're going to prepare to come back into dog. So tuck the toes, brace the abdominals, and push through the hands. Lift the body back. Now, I like to walk my hands to my feet. You might prefer to walk your feet to your hands, or maybe you do a little bit of each. So you're coming into a forward bend. So you're just folding over the legs, letting the crown of the head hang, maybe shaking the head out, yes, no nods, maybe shaking the upper body through a little bit, like the shoulders, give them a little wriggle. Sway from side to side. Let your body enjoy the sensation of the inversion. So this is any pose where the head, nearly said it the wrong way around then, is below the heart, is an inversion. And that's really beneficial for sending fresh blood, fresh oxygen to all of the cells. And also giving your body a rest, because we're always on our feet. So by turning everything upside down, you are giving, it's anti-aging for the skin, which is beautiful. So we're going to prepare now to rise. So we might come up in stages through a flat back position, tabletop, or we might roll up, which is what I'm going to do, through a Pilates roll up, tucking the chin in. It's up to you. Just choose an option. Just bring yourself up, but take your time. It's not a race. Normally, if I could see you, as you know, those who come every week, I always say the last one to get up is the winner, in that it should be a slow process. Okay, so we're going to come into a standing balance that we prepared for when we were, at the start of our practice with our eagle arms. Okay, so this will be a test, because I always usually use the wall when I teach you to show the options. So this will show you how wobbly I am today, probably. So we're going to start with the arms. We're going to open up, and we're going to let's all do the same. So we'll bring the left arm on top of the right. And remember, we're relaxing the shoulders and the upper back to start with. So because your left arm is on the top, it's always opposite. So your right leg is going to be the leg that is going to cross over. Okay? So we crisscross at the thigh, and we might stay here, or we might bring the arms into a different variation of the pose. You might release the foot from the floor and hover, you might be able to tuck the foot behind the calf. And you want to sit down in the stretch. So you want to really imagine you're perched on a little stool. Now this is much easier against a wall. So if you've got somewhere at home and you want to bring yourself up against the wall and try for a little bit more depth in the pose, and that way you haven't got the balance to worry about, so you probably can play with getting the foot behind the calf. For those who want more, you can fold over the thighs, bringing the elbows to touch the knees, keeping the spine beautifully long. You can always touch down like I'm doing here, okay? So this is your option. Take another breath. Inhale, rise. And then we just unravel and shake through if we need to. So shake off, or you could take a little twist. Just release out through the body. So we go to the other side. So left leg is going over right and left arm is going underneath. So we open up, right arm on top, eagle arms, maybe backs of hands, maybe palms, maybe just hands on shoulders is fine. And then start to focus on the legs. Now with your the beauty of the eagle is you can always just do the upper body or the lower body. So if you wanted to focus on your shoulder mobility and stretching off through the upper back, you could just simply do the arms. Or if you wanted to focus on hip mobility and strength through the lower body, you could simply just do the legs. So remember the little seat, try and sit down through the legs, try and bend the standing leg and square the hips to the front if you can. Option toes touch down, or hands to shoulders is kinder. So if you want to take that advanced option, you're folding forwards, elbows to knees. Inhale, rise. And gently unravel, shake through. So come now back to one end of your mat. I'm at the back of mine. It's up to you whether you want to walk the feet back or jump the feet back, or whether you want to walk the hands forwards. So we're going to inhale and rise. Exhale and bow. Bend the knees so you can get the hands on the mat. And then, as I say, either walk the feet back or walk, in my case, walk the hands forwards. Find a downward dog. Let's take one last flow, or take it straight to child's pose. So we inhale, float forwards, exhale, lower, knees for cat-cow. All fours, or we take one final back bend, and then we're going to bring ourselves, all of us, back to child's pose. So if you're expecting, you take the knees really wide so you've got the space for the bump. So let the body rest now. Rest the forehead down. Perhaps if you're at home and you've got a lot of space between your butt and your heels, you can put a cushion or a blanket there. And similarly, you could prop up your forehead with a cushion too. So make this pose as comfortable as possible for yourself. Just come back to the rhythm of your breath. Beautiful. Then you're going to rise, and we're going to bring ourselves over now onto our back, and just slowing everything down now. We're going to come into a little twist. So focusing with our theme of eagle, the arms can float out, but the legs are going to cross like you did with your eagle legs a moment ago. So if you're pregnant, keep the feet wide and just gently drop the knees across, okay? But the rest of us, whatever leg's on top, so for me, I've just put my left leg over my right. My legs are going to go to the right, so it's always the opposite. So if you've got your right leg on top, you're letting the legs go to the left, and then maybe you turn the gaze, roll your head in the other direction. If this was too strong through the hip with the legs crossed, then you can always just have the legs on top of one another, so the knees just in a more of a generic twist. So breathe into the lower back. Any sensations that you can feel. And then unraveling carefully, bringing the legs back through center, hugging them in just for a moment, just rocking through the lower sacrum, and then take that twist to the other side. So maybe you cross your legs, maybe you choose not to. You could go even for the full eagle bind with the foot behind the calf if you wanted to, and then just let them go over to one side. Now the legs don't have to come all the way to the floor. Sometimes people think, the same with down dog, that the heels need to be rooted. Those are myths in yoga. So you're never too unflexible, you're never too old to do yoga. All of that is a load of nonsense, so I won't get started on that. But just breathe and just be the best version of yourself and just adapt the pose to work for you. So in this one, if I was at home, I'd be putting my bolster and my pillows underneath my legs so that I'm not feeling too much of an intense stretch on my lower back if I was holding it for any length of time. So I'm going to come back through center and unravel my legs, and then I'm going to hug the knees in again. If you want to, you can bring it into a full happy baby pose with the feet shining up and the knees bent. Sometimes I see this, we're not stretching the hamstrings, we're keeping the knees bent, knees in the direction of your armpits here. It's better to hold actually behind the thighs or the calves or the ankles. People go for the feet, but then what happens is they lift their bum, which I'm trying to exaggerate, but I can't really see what I'm doing. But you want to really root through the tailbone, and then if you want a little massage for your sacrum, you just rock like a baby. Brilliant. So I've gone ever so slightly over, but I'm going to make sure you get your full relaxation. Now, if you're at home and obsessed with the same pose as me, I would now be taking my legs at the wall, okay? So if you want to do that, you're familiar with that pose, then imagine I've got a wall here. You could just come to legs at the wall, okay? Otherwise, you're going to come in to your version of Shavasana. So either knees touching, feet slightly wider, which is kinder on the lower back, or the legs to the corners of your mat, ankles soften, and then palms face up. If that feels like you're really exposed, then bring a hand to the belly and a hand to the chest. Just listening to the breath here. So we close down the eyes and we just take a few rounds of breath together before we let the body fully relax. So I'll let you get a chance to get in if you're getting up the wall with your legs. You might want a little pillow for your head or a blanket. So make yourself 5% more comfortable. If you want to pop socks on, or you want something like a layer over your body, or an eye pillow, or a blanket, or a cushion for your head and neck, then just use what you've got around you. And then bring yourself back to stillness. And let's listen to the breath. So breathing in together, breathing out. So we're trying to slow the breath down. So breathing in Breathe it out. Let's take one more breath together. Breathe in. And then let the breath go. And then just let your body and your breath settle. Weighted into the earth. See if you can relax any part of the body just a little bit more. Perhaps releasing tension through the forehead or the brow. Or maybe you're clenching through the jaw without realizing. So bring a softness to the entire face. And let your shoulders soften. Chest, ribs and belly. Front and back of the torso relaxes. Buttocks, hips, pelvis, thighs, relaxed. Knees, shins, calves, ankles, relaxing. And then the soles of the feet, the tops of the feet, and all 10 toes. Upper body, lower body, whole body is one, fully relaxed. And supported by Mother Earth, find that peace that the reading referred to in that internal environment. As we practice that acceptance of change within our external environment. So resting our heartfelt intention on that theme of acceptance. As we relax and soften. So feel free, if you're at home and you would like more rest and more nourishment, to stay as you are, either lying down or with your legs up the wall. If you're ready to prepare for the rest of your day and you want to start to think about reawakening the body, and take a few deeper breaths in. And then in your own time, in your own way, you might like to start to wriggle through the fingers and toes, maybe through the wrists and the ankles, or rolling through the head and the neck. Take any movements that feel good, stretching out, hugging in. Take your time, there's no rush to move. And then holding on to that feeling you've created, keep the gaze soft as you perhaps roll over to the side. Take a moment there. In your own time, in your own way, just rising to seated. So if you're practicing legs at the wall and you're fairly new to that posture, then 10 minutes is probably plenty. So just keep a little eye on the clock, or just have a, if your feet start to go tingly, that's another sensation that perhaps you've done long enough. So we're going to come now to seated, any way that feels comfortable with the spine elongated. You could even be up against the wall for this. We're going to bring our practice to a close this morning together. So open the arms up. We're going to inhale, rise up, stretch up. And then we're going to exhale, bring the prayer down through the third eye space, love and peace in your thoughts to yourself and others. And then to your lips, love and peace in your speech to yourself and others. And then lastly to your heart center, love and peace in your heart. And we bow and we say namaste to each other. The light or divine in me recognizes the light or divine in each and every one of you. And even though I can't see you, thank you ever so much for joining me, and namaste. And as I said, if you are feeling anxious at this time, then the breathing exercises and the relaxation part of the class and yoga nidra that some of you have experienced with my workshops are really going to help. So feel free to comment, so that when Craig is planning future classes for the timetable, I've got an idea of what you really would like. I taught a Pilates class on Thursday, and I've taught 3 yoga classes now for you. So they are all there if you want to go in and watch them. You don't have to join live. You can go back and do them at your own a time that suits you. But stay safe and look after yourselves. We do really miss you, and enjoy the beautiful weather that we have. Thank you again.